Onision is being investigated by the FBI. At least, according to Chris Hansen, he is. Right off the bat, some of you will ask, who is Chris Hansen? What is an Onision? And why should I care? Well, let's start at the end and go back. You should care because this is turning into big news. It's damn interesting, and also it's a good thing that it's happening. And most people thought this was never going to happen. Onision is a YouTuber with millions of subscribers from the early days of YouTube. And Chris Hansen is that guy from To Catch a Oops, I cannot say that word. I'll explain later. He's the guy from Dateline known for telling disgusting people to take a seat. Just make sure you're paying attention to this story. It starts many years ago. A young guy got out of the military less than honorably and started making YouTube videos. He had hit this viral video where he danced around as a banana. He should have called himself Bananion or something, by the way. The banana video was featured on Tosh.0, and that also helped it get massively popular online and on television. It went massively viral. Early on, it got Onision a nice base of subscribers, and he also worked with other YouTubers that would go on to be some of the biggest on the platform. Anyway, who really cares? We are here for the current dumpster fire that is Onision being investigated by the FBI. So here's what's up. Chris Hansen of Dateline fame started streaming live on YouTube a while back. And being famous, he did all right. He noticed, though, that if he looked into people making waves on the platform, he would get more recognition and views. Pretty smart if you ask me. I always said that it would be awesome if Chris did a live series podcast form of production. Anyway, I think it started as a joke or a meme, but Chris was getting hit with a lot of comments and requests to investigate a guy named Only Use Me Blade. If you ever want clarification on that, I did a video a while back about it, but anyway, due to the amount of requests that Chris got on him, he eventually questions him about this allegation. Just anyway, seeing that blow up the comment section worked for Chris, and many people started asking him to look into Onision. The first guest he had on was Blair White, somebody that had talked about Onion Boy a lot in the past. Seeing the success of that video, Repsion ended up on the show. Blair and Repsion really filled Chris in on Onision, and after watching these shows, you could tell that Chris realized the massive trend behind exposing Onision. Onision was pretty big in the past, but lost his favor with the audience quickly due to very, and I mean very, narcissistic behavior, selfishness, insulting others, making cringy content, reverse memeing, where Onision thought that he was setting the trend of a meme, but in reality, he was being laughed at instead. All of these things, plus a lot more, has caused people who criticize Onision to have a lot of success with those videos. It's like so many people hate the guy that it's become a topic on YouTube itself. Anyway, getting back on track, Chris found that he was in a perfect place to grow his online presence and actually do some good at the same time. And he got the interview that opened the floodgate against Onision. This interview was very important. Not only did it inspire other victims to come out and tell all the grimy details of their story, they trust Chris Hansen enough that they did let out details that probably would have never come out with anyone else. You could tell that Onision's victims held some of the details back, probably because they were maybe still into Onision or still cared about him or something. You know that whole thing where if you get kidnapped, you end up falling in love with your captor or whatever. Could have been a little bit of that involved, but they probably didn't want him to get in trouble for some weird reason. But Chris is good at getting people to admit to things, and Chris used the tactic needed to get very criminal details out of them. Chris knows what's legal and what is illegal, and steers his questions with a mind to get good admissions out of victims, not for things they did wrong, but for things that Onision did. One fact that came out through the interview and was reinforced in subsequent interviews was how big of a role LaineyBot played. It's Onision's wife that ended up transitioning into being his husband and then changed her name to Kai. So Kai is Lainey, LaineyBot is Kai. We will call her Kai, but you'll probably see some Lainey thrown in also. And anyway, let's quickly look at a bit of history of Lainey and Kai, Lainey or Kai, Lainey/Kai, and Onision's past. Okay, so Lainey is known as Taylor Anderson. Taylor came into the picture as a fangirl of Onision in late 2011, and in September, after one of his breakups with Shiloh, Taylor began to constantly tweet Onision and would persistently post on his website forums. Now, Shiloh is another girl that dated Onision early on. We'll get into her later. We're going to go with the order of interviews from Chris's podcast and fill in details from there up. So if you've seen those, this will kind of go in that same flow. Onision started to reply to her both via his forums and Twitter every so often over the next few months, although he had gotten back together with Shiloh. That's until their final breakup in late December of 2011, early 2012. It's believed that they started interacting with one another more via Skype and other ways of communication. Then they met in person when Onision secretly flew down to New Mexico, where she lives. He decided to rent a house there, and he did until she graduated high school, because she was only 17 after all. This is a creepy, creepy thing that you're going to notice over and over and over with Onision. During their short relationship, they have so far become engaged and wear rings for one another, just like he did with Shiloh. But it seems to make Tyler feel special because she likes to tweet pics of her ring occasionally. Onision and her have desperately tried to keep their relationship a secret, perhaps because he knows of the backlash she will receive for dating an underage girl, and one who seems to be mentally unstable herself being so obsessed with him. Supposedly after her graduation in June, now remember, from high school. So I just gave you a brief on how Kai ended up meeting Onision, and I think that after you see some of the clips I'm about to show you, you will agree that Kai was groomed also, but being an adult, she is responsible for her actions. Once she hit adulthood, after Onision went down and met her, he formed her into someone who could help him attract other underage girls to him, as you will end up seeing. One thing that just came out, released, that I saw on Memology 101, so sourcing it to him, shouting him out, is evidence of how abusive and controlling Onision is, which I do think, since Shiloh, the person in this clip, came before Kai, you will see most likely how he treated Kai and how he manipulated her into becoming what she eventually became for him. So let's start right here. In this video that just came out recently, we find out the depths of how evil Onision really was.
Greg and I decided that this year we'd go for realism, so he took the scissors to my ear in my sleep, and now I'm bleeding. But, I mean, it's a great look. It's gonna scare all the kids, you know?
You notice that she starts to break down from the abuse in front of you on the camera.
It hurts a lot, actually.
You know this video's never going to be online, right?
Onision interrupts saying, you know this video is never going to be online, right?
No one will ever know how much I abuse you.
No one will ever know how much I abuse you, Onision adds.
It's ridiculous that you think you'll be successful.
It is ridiculous that you think you'll be successful. You can see, even through the blurred image that has to be blurred for YouTube, the response in Shiloh's face as it sinks in. The defeat. The fear.
How many times do I have to tell you everything that you want to put online goes through me first?
How many times do I tell you, Onision says, everything you want to go online goes through me first. And she starts to realize she's trapped.
Want some candy corn?
Do you want some candy corn?
Thanks for watching, guys.
Shiloh says thanks for watching, guys, and goes to end the video. But not before this happens.
Hey, open your mouth. Open your mouth. Open your mouth.
No, Greg, I don't want any.
Open your mouth.
I don't want any, Greg. Ow! Ow, that one really, really hurt.
You could hear the candy corn sting against her skin.
Oh, that candy corn hurt. That candy corn really hurt, Greg. Oh, that candy corn was like a razor blade. The candy corn hurt, Greg.
Now, this video getting released has added to what I'm going to show you, the clip in the beginning of this video. But let's go ahead and move on because I want you to absorb fully how this all came to be. This girl is Sarah, the girl whose video came out and started the entire thing and let the other girls have enough courage to come out and speak for themselves. Listen to what she says about Kai's involvement in her meeting Onision.
So you thought, okay, I'm talking to this woman who's involved with Greg Jackson, Onision, and this is cool. I'm in contact with people who are influencers on YouTube, and I am somebody, and I have a connection here. And did that kind of make you feel better about yourself?
It just made me feel like, because I was always like, especially in school, I was always very, very quiet. I didn't really talk to anybody. I was just quiet. I was insecure, and this made me feel some sort of like validation that like, hey, yeah, you know what, you're cool too. See, like your idols are talking.
You're in on this with this celebrity couple, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like, and at the time too, when I first started talking to Kai.
And at this point, we're talking about now you were 14 years old. There was no question there. There was no role playing where they thought you were actually 18, anything like that.
No. The first private message that Kai ever sent me was, hey, Sarah, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 14. And yeah, and actually the first dinner I ever had with them at their house, the first time I went up there, Greg asked me at the dinner table. By the way, his legal name is James, not Greg anymore. I don't know why he did that, but
I had heard that, yeah.
So Greg was at the dinner table, and he was just like, oh, okay, so like, I wanted to know everyone at the table. Like, do you know who I am? Like, and I was like, yeah, I know who you are. I've been watching you since I was 11 or 12.
Now, you should watch this video. Chris did a great job with the interview, looking deep into Onision with Sarah, but then he ended up interviewing Shiloh, and many interesting things came out. Now, you have to remember, Shiloh is one of the first girls that met him when she was very young, but let's hear her describe a little bit of the interaction. Now, she is the woman you just saw with her ear cut and Onision throwing candy corn at her.
You're texting and whatnot. And now you say Sky, that was his wife partner before Kai?
This was his wife before I was his girlfriend, and after me came Kai.
Okay. Yeah. Sky, you, Kai.
Sky, Shy, Kai.
Sky, Shy.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does he tell you about his marriage to Sky?
Well, just kind of held up these papers, and he was like, these are divorce papers. This guy signed them.
Divorce papers.
Yeah, and I'm divorcing Sky. And then he went on to explain that it was because he had fallen in love with me.
And did you, at the age of 17, believe him at that point?
Yeah, I was shocked.
I think it's important to note that Shiloh was 17 years old. This video is very telling. It is looking deeper with Shiloh. And then, I don't necessarily know who Regina is, but she does add some interesting things to the entire story. And her story, again, is a lot of the details are very similar as it goes.
And I commented on the picture and said, oh, wow, you're one of my new favorite accounts. I really like what you post. Like, this is so cool. And they commented back a thank you. And then we got to DMing after that.
And this was just Kai, or was this Kai and Onision?
It was only Kai at the time.
Only Kai at the time. Then very recently, Onision investigation intensifies with Billy. Billy adds her opinion into the mix.
Let me just clarify here for everybody watching. I think most people are up to speed here, but Kai, when you first met Kai, identified as a woman, now
think so. I think maybe he might have just stumbled upon my Twitter, saw like a picture of me or something, and decided to like message me. I think that's like the only thing. Because I didn't really do YouTube or anything back then either.
Right. And you responded to Kai?
Oh, yeah.
And what was the conversation like from there?
Like after the whole kind of talking about if I was interested in girls, it kind of just started into like a, I don't know, like a potential relationship type thing, where it was like, oh, my husband, or I have a husband, he wouldn't be involved in our relationship, you know, if we have one, and kind of just talk about that and flirting for the most part.
And how old were you at this point?
I was 18.
You were 18.
Mm-hmm.
And were you okay with this? Was this something you...
Now, as it all leads up to the current time here, I've only given you such a small portion of what's really there. As it leads up to now, with the leak of the video of Shiloh being abused and her ear being cut and bleeding and Onision acting like he was, everyone now has the full picture of what happened. Basically, Onision is very worried about the FBI coming after him, and he made this video, "Please Stop This," which is his attempt at comedy, edgy comedy, but with the fear of the FBI coming for him, knowing what Chris Hansen has done, and seeing that his entire audience now has turned on him. Even the very, very small little bit of an audience that was left has finally turned on him. He couldn't keep it together. He couldn't even do his strange brand of comedy, and it devolved into this. Let me skip through it.
I was on my Patreon Discord today, and you guys went ahead and let me know. I'm trying to get Mulder and Scully to show up on my doorstep. So if you could, like, call them not on me.
Basically just fake vomiting, fake crying, no comedy, no creativity. I think the fear has finally overcome him. So at the end of this video, I just want to catch you up and show you some of the key things that I think you would kind of prove to you that you will get value from following this story. And I predict that it's going to get much bigger. We're even seeing articles being written about this, literally showing Onision for what he is from pretty big media outlets. And I don't think that this story is going to stay under wraps. It's going to blow up very soon. Now that the FBI is looking at Onision, everyone's wondering, will he be going to prison? Will he be facing a judge? Will Kai be involved? Will she get in just as much trouble? Will she be given some type of plea deal? If she just dumps everything on Onision, maybe they'll give her a reduced sentence. Who knows what's going to end up happening? But I will keep you updated on it here, and there are many other YouTubers weighing in. All of them have pretty good opinions, I'd have to say. Keep an eye out for part 2. Thanks for watching. If you can, please subscribe, hit the like button, and check out the links in the About section to help support my show. Thanks for watching. UNIRock, out.